Hi, this is Laura Brehm.
And my name is Wyatt Troy.
And I want to welcome everyone to Behind the DAW.
We interview artists and music industry experts on an emotional, philosophical, and artistic level to get inside their heads, gather the best information, and then bring it back to you. By the way, this is a companion podcast to our new YouTube series, In the DAW, where we invite artists to dissect their songs in real time. If you have any artists you would like to see come on the show, or if you have any feedback in general, you can contact me at wyatt@musicandstuffllc.com. Start off, I got 3 deep questions for you to get you warmed up. Does that sound good?
Sure.
If a cyclops closes its eyes, is it a blink or a wink?
It's a blink.
Do you have any reasoning behind that?
I guess my definition of a wink would be that one eye has to still be open.
He's not even capable of a wink. That's deep. All right. Number 2, let's say you're in your car, and you're going the speed of light, and then you turn on your lights. What happens?
It's an interesting thought. You're just going to be like floating within that light. You're going to be like an aura. There's like going to be an aura around your car traveling with you.
So you turn on the lights and then the light goes around the car?
Yeah, because I guess it wouldn't be right just going ahead of you, and it wouldn't, lag behind. I don't know. I'll have to try that sometime.
When you have some spare time this weekend, go ahead and try that. Last one. Let's say there is a room, and the room is completely made of mirrors, but there's nothing in the room. So what does it look like inside?
That would be trippy. I almost cursed. That would be so trippy. Just feel like you're floating in an infinite little, I don't even know. Where would you even feel like you are? Where's the floor? Even the floor would be a mirror?
Yeah, everything.
Yes.
So one last one. Actually, I said the last one was the last one, but now we're going to do a little fun one. If those ones weren't fun enough, here's a fun one, right? And then we'll bring it into the real interview. Why doesn't Tarzan have a beard?
Too many bugs and things would live in it and get gross.
It's good. All right. That's good. So on to more important things. Laura Brehm, the woman, the myth, the legend, is here. Really quick, I want to tell you how I even came across you. I was driving in my car, in my minivan. Nope, I didn't have a minivan then. I was in a different car, and I was in there, and all of a sudden I heard something on Mr. Suicide Sheep, and it was you. It was your song with Vogue produced it, Don't Wait. I heard that, and instantly, I was like that meme. It's just shut up and take my money. You know what I mean? It was just hey, I'm an instant fan. This is amazing. I was on my way to watching Wonder Woman, by the way. I don't know why that's important.
Oh, I love that movie.
Anyways, ever since then, I've just been listening to you. I've looked at your old stuff as well as keeping up with your new stuff. And gosh dang it, Laura, I don't think you understand the talent that you have, the skill. I don't know what to call it, the gift.
Oh, thank you.
Absolutely.
That means a lot.
So, went to school for psychology. Tell me about that.
So I actually started out at university as a music major. I was doing music performance. I started out as a piano major. I went into this music performance program, which was great. I was also taking a few other electives like intro to music production and music theory and stuff like that. But when it came to the instruments, you had to pick one for the entire 4 years. And I wanted to do piano, guitar, voice, drums. I wanted to take production, I wanted to take business, I wanted to do all this stuff. And I ended up switching to voice from piano. And then I ended up going to psychology and switching out of music altogether because I felt like I wanted to learn something that was kind of outside of music. I was doing music on my own time anyway. I think I was just kind of craving something a little more academic. I discovered I have a passion for psychology as well, not as much as music, but I ended up studying for almost the entire length of the program and almost got my degree. That was about the time that music was kind of picking up. And so I actually dropped out of school completely. But the classes that I took in psychology ended up being really valuable, actually. And ironically, they have helped me a lot in my career, even though, I didn't end up getting that music degree or the psychology degree. Just kind of learning more about that realm of things, I think has helped me navigate the music industry better and working with people, even in just my lyric writing and stuff like that. Just a lot of the concepts that I end up writing songs about tend to be pretty psychological and deep.
It sounds like you just went from one end of the spectrum to the other, because you were saying when you got into the music program, you're like, man, I want to play guitar, I want to play piano, I want to sing, I want to do music production, I want to learn about business. And then it seems like all of a sudden it's just nope, I want to do psychology. Just went completely other side. So like, was that gradual, or did you just wake up one day and you're like, no, let's just switch?
I actually went through kind of a big transition during that time too, because starting around when I was 16 until I switched when I was about 19 and I switched to psychology major. I was doing just my solo music and I was really kind of going for that as like a pop indie singer-songwriter, solo artist. And I had a time once I got into college where things started changing and that I wasn't really feeling that anymore, like going in that direction. And I'm not going to say like I almost quit music, but it was more just like I knew I just kind of needed to do something different for a little bit. And I didn't stop making music, but I think that I was just kind of trying out other things and seeing what would happen. And I took psychology as like an elective before, like in high school, and then my first semester, and I really liked it. So I was like, I think I'm just going to try that, and also take like stuff like philosophy and things like that. But shortly after I had switched, my major was kind of around the time when I started getting into like doing EDM. I needed to, I guess, take classes that wasn't as connected with the music program as I originally thought it would be to what I was doing as music. And I was working with people in Denver, like DJs and producers, and just kind of, again, getting back into my singing and songwriting. Yeah, it was like a really big transitional period for me. Here I am still doing EDM. That timing kind of lined up.
Really quick, to the side of you, I keep seeing smoke. Is something on fire?
Oh, I have incense burning.
Okay, that makes me feel a lot better. Like, do I stop her? Do I tell her? Do we just keep going? This is really, really interesting to me. If you did finish the program, you did get to the degree, I mean, what in the psychology field would you want to do? Something along the lines of a therapist?
Later in life, I'll still probably end up finishing my degree and getting a master's in something. I'm really interested in kind of the positive psychology, health psychology, spiritual psychology, like those realms, which they aren't the biggest realms within psychology. It's mostly abnormal psychology or fixing problems. I really like preventative approach to health and holistic health. I'm really into that. So I could have finished my undergrad and continued with that. But again, it was like it came down to I was writing papers for my psychology classes. And then I had vocals that I wanted to record for a producer. Like I have X amount of time, or I have to get it done by this day. Which one am I going to do? I went with the music. I'm really glad I did. I still like kind of read psychology books. I'm still trying to always learn about those topics. And I think also those subjects kind of also come with like life experience and wisdom. And so that makes more sense to me too. Like rather than getting my master's in that when I'm in my 20s later in life, that would be awesome. I'd still love to do that.
When I think about, a psychology major, and this is probably not the correct thing to think about. When I think about someone who's a psychology major, I feel like you can look at me and basically know everything about me right now. The way that I'm sitting, the way that I'm talking, some of my gestures and stuff like that. Is that true? I mean, like, can you read people pretty easy, or is that kind of just like a myth?
I would say that is a myth. I feel like I can more pick up on people's vibes and like I can sense people, like I'm kind of an empath in that way. And I feel what other people are feeling. Maybe it has to do more with that, like being able to empathize with people or like understand, but I definitely can't read your mind. Okay. So don't worry.
So now, in your point in your life, you left school behind, you've been focusing on your career, everything's been going, at least from the outside looking in, everything looks like it's been going profoundly well. You've been release after release, collaboration after collaboration. You did an EP last year.
Thanks, yeah.
Tell me about Electric Bird Records. What's going on with that? What's the philosophy behind it?
I kind of realized, like, I don't feel like I had a place really where my new solo music was going to be released on. My solo music, I wouldn't call it pop. I'd say it has pop elements, but it's not something that I think I would send to like major labels, for example. And it doesn't quite fit with, a lot of the labels I've been working with for years, like Monstercat and CS. It's not full on EDM. It kind of organically came about. I had already been like self-publishing my songs under Electric Bird Publishing. I was like, oh, well, I'm just going to give this, it was a self-release. But I was like, I'm just going to give it like a name, basically. Yeah. So the first song was Don't Wait, which was produced by Evoke. And then a couple months later, my EP with Evoke, Future Holds, the label that was on dissolved. And so that EP was just kind of floating and just like wasn't anywhere. It got taken off Spotify and we wanted to put it back out. And so I was like, well, it's folk, it's electronic. It's not quite pop, but it's kind of poppy. And it really fit like as a follow-up to Don't Wait. I asked Evoke if he'd be okay with me putting it on the label, and he was cool with it. And then there was the Breathe EP and the Breathe EP mixes. It just kind of kept evolving as like with each release where I was like, what am I going to do with this? And then I was like, well, it fits with this thing that I have that where it's self-releasing. So I'm just going to do that. And then it just kind of has turned into like more of like, I'm becoming more and more passionate about that particular sound. I started thinking, well, what if, other artists might be interested in getting on board with this, and maybe other people could, share my vision. And I was sent an EP from a singer-songwriter in Canada. Her name's Carolee. She was pitching her EP to be released on Electric Bird. And, I hadn't put anything out there like now taking submissions or anything, because I'm not trying to rush into just, I'm not going to release stuff like every week and just try to be like an online only YouTube label, which is fun. I'm trying to bring in traditional elements plus the, electronic scene elements. And that's going to take a lot of time to build up a label like that people want to actually release their music on and be like, that's the legitimate label. But Kara sent me her EP and I opened it up and I listened to the first song, and my jaw just like dropped. I was just like, oh my gosh, this sound, this is exactly what I would look for. Releasing another artist. Like before that, I had only released music that I was involved with, my solo stuff, the Future Holds EP, the remixes of my solo songs. But I heard this EP and I was kind of shocked that, again, it just fit so well. It just felt right. So I've been working with Kara on that, and I'm lucky enough to have her trust me and in taking the lead with like the business aspects of it. It happened again. I had another female singer-songwriter send me an EP, and same thing. So I will be announcing that in a couple weeks. There'll be another release, after Kara's EP. But it's interesting how I didn't think, kind of like how years ago I didn't really think I'd end up doing EDM vocals as my kind of main thing. Kind of same thing. I didn't think I'd end up wanting to start a label. The amount of work that it takes, the amount of risk that's involved, it's starting to become something I'm really passionate about too. And again, I'm taking it really seriously, making sure I'm doing it correctly. And, again, learning, I'm building my team. It's not just me. It is me running the label, but, I have my management, I have PR, marketing, lawyers. I'm building my team slowly. And I guess as I'm continuing to also build my career as an artist, the label is kind of coming up alongside, and it's going to be a little slower and take a lot more for it to kind of develop. But I feel like it's organically kind of happening, and I'm really excited about it. It makes me really happy. Get up every day and work on it.
So just so that I understand, so what you're saying is that basically this label, if you look at, if you take my left hand here and you take my right hand here, on the right hand, this is like the EDM kind of more electronic side. Over here, this is more the organic folk side. But you're saying your label loves to exist somewhere in the middle right here. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, exactly. I felt like there wasn't really a label that has done that, at least not that I'm aware of specifically. I want to bring that presence into the industry more. That's kind of my goal, and I want to support. It's not only a place for me to release my music. Of course, I'll still release on other labels as I see fit, but having that home base and then being able to work with other artists who are just as passionate about that sound, that's really like a dream come true for me. And I can only just hope that the reality will turn out to be as, big as I can dream it.
Stepping away from the label, more so focusing on you and your music. So your lyrics and the way that you present your lyrics, how you sing them and everything, is just, there's something about it that resonates with my soul. Maybe that doesn't fully encompass what I'm feeling, but that's about as good as it's going to get right now. What has been your absolute favorite song to write that has just resonated with you so much? You're like, if only every song could be like this.
I'd have to say Diamond Sky with Elliot Berger, because that was one of my first collabs. Something about it just like really resonated, I guess, for me personally. And I think it just kind of, I mean, I had a few releases before that I think really helped give me momentum in the EDM scene, like Waking Dreams with Two Thirds, like some of those early like Monstercat releases. But Diamond Sky was like, it just kind of felt like it was like just on a deeper level and just a little bit more of a surprising outcome. And it actually kind of in my personal life, like connected me with a group of friends who are like now some of my best friends in my life, introduced me to Elliot Berger and like a lot of these people in the UK that we're kind of like a tight-knit group of friends. We have like a Facebook group chat that we just talk to each other every day and about music and life and stuff. But that song was what kind of brought us all together because it was like people who were working with Elliot at the time. And that was kind of interesting. So it has like a lot of meaning.
So are you saying the reason why Diamond Sky holds such a special place in your heart is because of the relationships that was fostered with that song?
Yeah, pretty much. It's amazing to me what music can do, like how it can bring people together. And, you know, a lot of the people in my life are musicians or people in the music business, and a lot of those close friendships that I have. And like, if I hadn't written that song or if Elliot hadn't sent me that instrumental one day, you know, that might have not happened is really interesting to me. And I just feel like how different things would be. Also, because like London holds a really special place in my heart. And, you know, Elliot's from London. And when we worked on the track, we were doing it by sending files back and forth, you know, between London and Colorado. It can make things like that happen even that far away. Yeah. And in our world today, like it's just so crazy how that's possible and just so cool too. Like I'm going to say I never thought this would happen, but when I was younger and we didn't even have smartphones yet or anything, or Facebook didn't exist yet. Yeah. Never thought that something like that would be even possible.
Exactly what you're talking about is one of the hidden gems of getting into the music industry, because I had no idea the friends that I would gain from coming into here. I mean, you and I we're mutual friends with these people. So like Austin Collins, AU5, he's one of my best musician friends. Like we talk all the time. You know, Alden Evoke, like he's amazing. Sam Dobkin, you know Sam. A lot of these people that have already been on the show, I'm just like, I didn't realize how deep of a connection that I was going to make with these people. The reason why I got into music, the reason why I started doing the podcast and everything had nothing to do with that. But once I got in, it was like, if that thing was taken away, I don't know if I could still keep doing what I'm doing.
Oh, yes, 100%. Some of these people, they basically feel like they're family. Like Anna Yvette, fellow singer, songwriter, producer, she's like a sister to me. We met because of music. We actually made Summer Never Ends together in the studio. But we had met before that. We clicked just so quickly and became so close. Totally agree with you. It's amazing. They're like lifelong friendships, you know, that happen.
I was asking you about your favorite song that you've roted.
That you've written.
That you have created. And your solo stuff, you know, just you, what has been your absolute favorite song that you've written? Gosh dang it. English sucks.
I like the songs for different reasons. Right now, for me, the most impactful one for me was Don't Wait. It came to me at such like a critical time in my life, early mid 2016 when I started writing it. And then I worked with Alden producing it for, you know, a couple months.
Shout out to Alden.
He did a great job. The production was perfect. It just fit so well. I was going through kind of a tough time in my life when I wrote that song. And it was a big transitional period where I had been on anti-anxiety medication for about 5 years. And I was getting off of it, kind of just not accepting that anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm not going to let this hold me back anymore feeling. And that song really was just about me, just like taking, I don't know how to like word it, like taking the reins. I'm not going to let this anxiety like keep me down anymore, stop me from doing things. Because that's what it did for like a long time. Yeah. I think that song helped me kind of process that going through those changes. Like it helped me in the chorus to say like, now the light in your heart is resonating, keeping that like hope and that forward movement. That was big for me. Yeah. And then it being the first kind of release on the label and my first solo release since before I got into EDM. Yeah. All of those things combined, it was really impactful and meaningful for me.
So That song is actually the reason why we're here today. That is the first song that I heard from you, and I didn't realize that that's what it was about. To be honest, when I was listening to it, I kind of had the vibe that it was about a relationship, but maybe it was about a relationship. It was a relationship about, with yourself.
Yeah. I mean, it can totally be interpreted as that too, I think. But yeah, it was more about like your own journey.
So from what I've been able to kind of piece together with you, really focusing on your solo releases as well as your collaborative ones, and you're talking about your own mental health in this song with Don't Wait, it sounds like you have a very good sense of self-worth. Would you feel that's correct?
Yeah, I'd say so. Like anyone, I've struggled with that from time to time. Primarily, my intuition is really strong. So it kind of keeps me on the right track and just like keeps me kind of aware and conscious as I can be.
I grew up with a lot of girls in my family. I mean, like a lot of girls in my family. I mean, like a lot of girls in my family. It was something that I noticed with every single one of them, as opposed to like my friends that were guys or family members that were guys, is that a lot of girls, and this tears me apart. And with being a father, this tears me apart to think about that my daughter could go through this one day, is that women, and especially young women between the ages, let's say teenage years to 30, around that, really struggle with self-worth or self-image or self-esteem. I guess guys don't really struggle with, I mean, maybe a little bit. I mean, yeah, we're self-conscious sometimes, as a general rule, but I don't think that we've went through what the average woman goes through. So with you, did you go through that at times, or mostly were you okay? Were you like, no, I'm pretty awesome? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think that a lot of women and young women and teenage girls struggle with that. I think a huge part of that is just our society and our perception of like the expectations that are placed on physical beauty and maybe certain behavioral expectations or things like that. I'm not entirely sure. I would say that I don't think that was a huge part of it for me. I think that me having music always really that helped me a lot. It was a place I could go where I feel like myself. I feel like I'm expressing myself. I'm doing something that I love, and it's an outlet, and I feel safe and comfortable, and it makes me feel happy. And I feel really lucky to like have something like that that's so powerful. But I think for me, it was more about the pure anxiety aspect. It's more of like a lack of, I don't have control, wanting to hold on to things that need to change, or if someone else does something and I don't agree with it, or wishing that I could like change things, like change other people or change situations. I think that's kind of more where that stems from. I think a lot of people might struggle with that. And it's just more also like an existential anxiety of like not feeling grounded. And I think things like technology kind of prevents us from being more really connected to the earth, feeling in your body rather than feeling in your head. So for me, it was more about that. I fully stand by things like, the feminist movement and things like that. Like, I totally think that there's a reason for that and there's a place for that. I just hope that that entire self-worth issue kind of changes for young women. It's hard to see that happen.
How is it being a woman inside of electronic music? Because I can't give you a statistic other than my own personal experiences, but I don't see a lot of women in electronic music. You are the first person that I have interviewed that is a woman on this show. Not because I don't want to interview women, but because vast majority of producers are men. What is it like being? Is it normal? It's just whatever, it doesn't really bother you? Have you been treated differently because you are a woman inside of electronic music?
I grew up with two brothers. I have so many friends that are male, and like, I really don't ever feel like I'm being treated in like a sexist way. It definitely happens. I think I've been lucky where I haven't really experienced that. And also just because the people I work with are awesome and they're great people and they're my friends. But it is interesting to me how, like you said, 95% of electronic music producers are male. What I notice most is that people are actually like surprised if I actually produced something. When I produced the Breathe EP, like even though they're not like dubstep songs or something, people were still like, you produced that? What? It was like a huge surprise. And I took that as a compliment in a way, but I was also kind of a little taken back. So I was like, well, why wouldn't I not? Why is that such a shocker? I mean, I am a musician and I've been doing this for years, like more than 10 years. It's just simply because of there is that expectation that, oh, there's usually going to be like a male producer behind this song or whatever. So I find that interesting. And I think that, people are just less like willing to accept, oh yeah, she can produce this. When Anna Yvette produced Summer Never Ends, we had the producer named Fool. He did like some additional production, like he added in some layers and stuff. Like I was there in the studio with Anna and, she chose those drum samples. She made the beat, like she made that synth sound, like all that stuff. I think people were still like commenting on the YouTube video of Summer Never Ends being like, why isn't Fool a main artist? It's really primarily Anna's production. And that's what we all decided on. Fool was okay with being in the credits as additional production by Fool. So that's what it was. I think they're just more surprised. Oh, wow, she can actually make this beat. I want to change that. And I'm sure a lot of other women in the industry do too. We do have some great female producers out there that are doing really well, but it would be great to see more and just more interest for more females to take an interest into production. I do want to mention something while we're talking about this, because after I release Kara's EP, which comes out March 2nd, the next EP that I'm releasing on my label is an EP by a female singer-songwriter. It's a 5-track EP. Each track is produced by a different female producer. I'm really, really excited about that. I want more females to like look at Ableton and be like, yeah, I can do this. Like, I can sit down and learn this. It's not going to be like rocket science. Totally doable.
Personally, I know a few producers inside of the scene that are women. Do you know who Sippy is?
I don't.
Oh, Sippy is awesome. She's from Australia. She's really, really awesome. And I personally don't know Rez. I know you know Rez. And I'm trying to think. This proves the point that there needs to be more women producers, because they're not coming up to my mind right now. Women have just as much right to be inside of the music industry just as much as men do. I don't know if the reason why there's more men than women inside, at least the electronic field. I don't know if the reason why there's more men than women is because men are more interested in this generally than women, or if because, women feel disenchanted with this, or, they feel intimidated, or I don't know.
Right.
I don't know the reason why.
That's the question, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the question why, is because you're right. It is far outweighed from men to women. It's not even like kind of close. And I want to know why, because I would love to see more women inside of the music industry in general, but especially in the electronic field that you and I are in, because I think it could bring a lot to it. Because, man, there are some people inside the music industry that I know personally that could use a woman's touch. That are just like, dude, like, you can't talk like that, man.
Yeah, I agree.
So, but you personally, with all of your endeavors inside of music, you've never been treated differently or disrespected or anything because you are a woman?
I'm trying to think.
The fact that you have to try and think is a good sign.
Yes. I would say like I have had experiences like that, but it's more like in my life, like not necessarily connected to music.
Oh, I see.
I've definitely experienced some behavior from I don't know how to put it. You know what I mean? I think that sometimes what comes up is like, again, I don't know if this is because I'm a woman or not. But it's more, I think, about being the featured vocalist. Just like sometimes I feel like kind of brushed to the side, or like I don't get a fair cut. I don't feel like the weight of that like is really like, I don't think people give enough weight to the featured vocalist, because like a lot of the time the featured vocalist, she or he is making that track a song. The vocal, if it's a bad vocal, you're kind of in trouble. In my opinion, great production is a huge, huge, huge element, and it adds so much to the track. I do think it's like, especially in EDM, it's like a 50-50 thing. Like you could take one great vocal, if you had different production styles on it, that makes it different songs. Look at like Bob Dylan or something as an example. Like you have a great song, but it's maybe not the best, like it's like rough sounding a little bit, but you're still going to listen to it. There's not as much weight kind of given to the vocalist, I think, a lot. And it's unfortunate in the EDM scene. It's interesting kind of how I feel like vocalist doesn't get that much credit a lot of the time.
I picture the vocalist. A track, like a production, is like a house, and then once you put the singer on there, the vocalist on there, it becomes a home. You strip out those vocals, it could still be cool. A house could still be cool, but at the end of the day,
I love that.
Yeah, at the end of the day, you know, we want a home. You know, but think about it like this, right? So let's say, now I can kind of pick on Alden because he's my friend, but let's say, Don't Wait with Alden, Evoke, shout out Alden, love you, man. But if you were to take that and you were to strip all your vocals, it's still pretty cool. It's still, you know, the guitar is beautiful, rhythm's beautiful, you know, the vibe is still beautiful. That's pretty cool. But how long would someone listen to that? I'm sure there's some people that still would. I'm sure there's some people that would listen to it regardless. From my opinion, that vocal is what really, like, oh man, like there's something about this. It just makes me feel at home.
I love that analogy. I've never heard that. And I 1000% agree with that.
We're in the 1000 range.
1000%.
That is amazing, because even like in the same example, you know, with Don't Wait, if we were to strip your vocals and put it on something else, let's say just an acoustic track, let's say some type of remix, let's say something, you know, some track that's like completely ugly. The fact is that the vocal is still beautiful. It's like making a home out of a tin shack or a cave or whatever. You can still make it a home. You know what I mean? You take a beautiful singer, you put them anywhere. You know, certain things can make it, you know, certain things can make the singer shine a little bit more, a little icing on the cake, of course. But at the end of the day, you could put a beautiful singer anywhere. I could put you in a tin shack somewhere, you know, Utah desert. We're in the Utah desert, tin shack. Your audience is crows and scorpions. But I can guarantee I put you in a tin shack because you have such a beautiful voice.
Thank you.
It's a home.
I would like to see when an EDM producer releases a song with a singer-songwriter, especially when that singer-songwriter writes the vocal. You know, sometimes the singer just might be performing it and like other songwriters have written it. Every track is different. But for me, if the vocalist also wrote the song, it should be, for example, Elliot Berger and Laura Brehm, Believe, not Elliot Berger featuring Laura Brehm, Believe. For me, I know that maybe people would say, oh, like that's not a big deal, but I think it is, because I think that little feature in the title has made it harder. It's harder for vocalists than now. I think it does show up on Spotify now, but like a lot of the time, like you don't get tagged as the main artist if you're the feature. It doesn't show up on your artist profile on iTunes if you're the feature. Also, I think just mentally, like reading that, like featuring blah, 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 whoever the singer is, then you don't quite as associate them as much as having so much more involvement in the track. I think that's just like an expectation or something. I would like to see people giving credit where it's due and like letting, because a lot of times like producers don't want, for some reason, like they don't want it to be and singer. Like they're like, no, it has to be featuring because it's my track. But it's like, well, I'm writing the song, so I could take this song and I could go elsewhere with it. What? All right, now I'm getting like worked up.
Well, yeah, this is good. Let's get worked up. Let's do this. So why do people do that? Do you think it's just a dominance thing of when people are like, no, I want it to be blah, 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 featured blah, 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 instead of blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah?
They think it looks better or it makes more sense. I don't know. Like I wouldn't do that. I would not do that if I was collaborating with someone, even if I was producing it. And one day maybe, you know, I'll be a main producer on some of my collabs, but I will be one day. But I mean like the only one producing it. And let's say I collaborate with a singer, I wouldn't put them as a feature. Like I would feel like that's not fair. I don't know. I just don't understand it. I mean, I think back in 2012, when I first started getting into it, I mean, that wasn't really a thought that I had. It was just like, I didn't really think about what that would affect back then. I didn't know anything about the EDM scene. I don't know. It's just interesting how that's become the norm. And like, yeah, I don't fully understand it. I mean, I could rant about it on Twitter like for a week, but that won't really do much good, I don't think so.
Studies have shown that Twitter rants are actually extremely effective. I'm kidding. No, they're not.
I think it's more about like when you're in the process of making those collaborations, like it's good to just communicate about that early on, you know, to say like, well, are we both going to be main artists? What's the idea here? Like, how are we going to do this? Like, it's good to bring up things like that early. And from my experience, a lot of the people I work with are totally fine with it.
That's awesome.
And they don't take it as like, oh, that's not correct. Or so maybe if just more, vocalists can just kind of bring that up while they're in the process of collaborating, maybe that can start to change.
When two people come together and they create music, i.e. a producer and a vocalist, to me, this might just be my own opinion. Well, it is my opinion. This might just be me, but that to me, when someone creates something like that, when they create a song, something so intimate as a song, I see that as something I would almost define as sacred. That is a beautiful thing when two people come together and they create something like that. And so to me, I want to relate this to marriage. I'm a married man. I've been married for 3 years and I love my wife with all my heart. I think about what if someone showed up to my house and there's a title on my house that says Wyatt featuring Kylie. What? That makes no sense. We've created something beautiful. We've created marriage. We have kids together. We've created a life together, a home together. She has put in just as much work as I have. Why should it be Wyatt featuring Kylie? That doesn't make any sense. When something is something so sacred and so special, so intimate as making music with someone, why is that any different? Why should it be so-and-so featuring Laura Brehm? No, Laura Brehm, she put the heart and soul into that song, man. You just made the bones. You just made the structure of it. Yes, of course, the song wouldn't exist without you, but still, you guys are partners.
What's interesting too is that I wouldn't say a lot of my collabs, I'd say maybe a little, and not even half, maybe a little less than half. I actually wrote the vocal first and the producer produced around it. Those are the ones I especially push for it to be an and, because that's more like it should be Laura Brehm, song title produced by so-and-so.
Exactly.
A lot of the times I write a song with the intent that it's going to be a collab, just like a producer might write an instrumental with the intent that, I'm going to write a vocal for it. If any of those end up where I'm the feature, I am not happy about that. Not happy at all. And it's happened. And it's tough. It kind of hurts a little bit because it just doesn't feel fair at all.
I do feel like there is a place for featuring so-and-so and produced by so-and-so. I do feel like there's a certain place, again, if we go back to the analogy of my house, I didn't put in the refrigerator, right? I didn't do that. So in that case, it would be fine to say Wyatt and Kylie featuring Lowe's or Wyatt and Kylie featuring Home Depot. You know what I mean? Like in that kind of situation, they helped out. They did something with the house to make it, more comfortable for us, or, to put it in a real life situation. Let's say, you and Alden are making a song. Actually, this is perfect. Are we allowed to talk about the song that you and Austin and Alden are making?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
So this is a perfect example. Okay. So let's say that this song with you and Alden and Austin are making this song. So you, AU5 and Evoke. If someone came in, let's say for all intents and purposes, it's me. Let's say I come in and I'm like, hey, by the way, there's this cool little thing that you can do with this section right here. Maybe I helped put in a bridge or something. So in that kind of a case, I'm fine with that at that point. Yeah, I didn't create the song all the way. I didn't write the lyrics. I didn't do this. I didn't do that.
Exactly.
But, I still would like some kind of recognition. We on the same page?
Yes.
Same paragraph?
Totally, because I've been in situations like that for sure. And that's where it absolutely makes sense. And it's fair. That's fair. Who did what? What was the amount of work that was put in? Yeah, and then you just have to look at that. I think it should reflect in the title. Man,
we could talk about this all day because this is such a good subject. We've talked about you. We talked about your music. I want to look at the much bigger picture. You know what I mean? I want to look at the Laura Brehm existence here on the earth. Just out of curiosity, what has been the most beautiful and amazing experience you've ever had in your life? It could be related to music. It could not. It's wherever the dice fall.
I think it was the first big show that I ever had. And it was an acoustic set opening up for the band Heart. And I was really, 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 really nervous. I got out on stage and it was in front of maybe like 2,000 people, but I got out on stage and I could barely start the first song, and I was shaking, and I was only 19. I remember sitting there trying to get started, and it was a sit down theater. So it was really quiet. Everyone was just staring at me, and the people in the front they didn't know who I was. They were there for Heart. They kind of started cheering me on, you got it, girl. Come on, you can do this. I started playing and got through the first song. And then I think I just remember how it was a pretty long set too. It was maybe 40 minutes. And I just remember so clearly like how I felt once I had kind of gotten over the nerves and I just felt in my element, and I felt almost this like I honestly still to this day feel like that's the best I have ever performed or like sang. Like by the end of the set, I was like higher performer in me like came out, and it was like I was feeding off of the energy of the crowd that was being really supportive. And I just remember feeling so in the moment, just so present and so happy. And I guess, yeah, for me, that was a big moment for me, like to kind of just solidify, like, this is what I want to do. Like, this is what I feel like I was meant to do. That's one that stands out.
There's two important days in someone's life. The first important day is when God created you, and the second important day is when you find out why God created you. And so it kind of,
I've heard that.
Yeah, so it kind of sounds like for at least those 40 minutes, it sounded like you experienced that to some degree. It's just like, man, this is like, it felt like you found your place, so to say. Is that correct?
Yeah. It just, that feeling, I think that's the feeling that I chase with doing music. For me, it's like the best feeling. Yeah. It's like, that's what I chase when I'm writing a song. I look for that feeling of, oh yes, like this is what I want out of this song. And like, or this just works, or this just feels right. Or when I'm recording vocals and I'm just like in the right feeling and I'm like in the right mindset and it just feels like it's flowing. When you perform, it's the same way, or you're just up there, you're not really thinking about anything else. You're just kind of in your own little world, and you just feel so in tune with everything like that's happening in that moment. And I think that's what a lot of artists strive, whether it's music or not. It's that creative energy coming to that point of like actualization, or like tangible now. Like this is like a real thing where the idea is presented and you're like, this is what I was trying to do.
What's beautiful about that feeling is that not only is that attainable by anyone in the music industry, but anyone in general. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter what you do. If someone feels the exact same way that you feel about music, but they feel that way about making sweaters, they can achieve
exactly.
That is the beautiful thing about humanity. You said it best, like it's like a moment of how do you say it?
Actualization.
Actualization. I'd also throw in the term like euphoria, like euphoric self-actualization.
Perfect term for it. Yeah.
So I can't even actualization.
Actualization.
Thank you.
Yes. It's that euphoric, you found your calling, you have your purpose, your place. It's your dream coming real.
And I also want to point out that feeling, that euphoric actualization, said it, nailed it, can happen in multiple things in your life. For example, like that happened to you for music. Do you have kids? Are you a mother?
No.
Okay.
Not yet.
I promise you, when that happens, that a moment like that will happen. This happens to me. I don't want to say daily, but it happens a lot when you're a parent. Like I'll be holding my 2-year-old daughter right here, and she'll kind of just like lay her head right on my shoulder, suck her 2 fingers, and like it's really, really cute. But just like holding her there, and it is a euphoric it's a really beautiful moment, and it's just like, man, this is like one of the reasons why I'm here. Like this is so beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, I can't even. That's got to be on an entirely different level.
Yeah, it's very similar though, because I know the feeling that you're talking about. I've had it with music as well, and so it's very similar. I do think it probably, arguably, is on a deeper level because it is a child. It is an actually physical human being that you created. I also get the same feeling, like with my 3-month-old son. I can grab his hands and he'll grasp my thumbs, and I'll kind of like shake his hands a little bit. He'll get this big old gummy smile on. It's so cute.
That's so cute.
Yeah. So like when it's like that, it's like, man, like this is one of the reasons why I'm here. Like this is so amazing. And so I want anyone who's listening to this, including you, Laura, is that understand that can come in multiple waves. It can come in multiple different places in life. It seems like it's extremely fruitful and extremely abundant in music. And so with that, I say, keep riding that wave. Keep doing that. Be on the lookout for other ones too, because you don't want to miss out on the other ones. The other ones are really good. So I have a very similar question to the one that I just asked you, but it's a little bit darker. Looking at the totality of your life, the answer could be music related, it could be not. What is the most hardest, painful, darkest thing that you've went through, but it was so needed, it was so beautiful that you wouldn't trade it for anything?
I'm gonna get pretty personal here, and I think it would be getting my heart broken, because I think falling in love for the first time really changes you. But I think getting your heart broken for the first time might possibly change you even more. I'm not sure. Both of them are pretty powerful, but I think that I learned a lot from that. And it also provided a lot of inspiration. And this was a long time ago. This was probably when I was like 17, 18, still more when I was like still starting music. For me, it was a very hard and intense experience. I think it just kind of changed everything. I could still probably look back on that time and still even find inspiration from it. Obviously, I've had a lot of experiences since then because I'm 27 now. If I look back on my whole life, and if I can say that that's probably the hardest thing I've been through, I think I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, definitely like the anxiety is that too, but I didn't say that because I had panic disorder. And that was very hard. But I mean, I wouldn't say that that was like beautiful.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that that was more beneficial. So I would say
I'm sorry that you got your heart broken.
it's okay.
It sucks.
Thank you, though.
It really, 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 really sucks.
It's awful.
It is awful. The important thing, that at least that I've learned, I am not perfect at this at all. I struggle with this all the time. But the important thing is when something like that in your life happens, it could be a heartbreak. It could be losing someone. It could be an accident that happened to you. It could be a disease. It could be financial troubles. It could be a lot of different things. I think what we're all striving for is to let it go, so to say, but still hold on to like the beautiful embers that came from that fire.
Yeah, totally. It's like that Dead Mouse song. I remember it's like that lyric, you don't have to move on to let go. I remember when I heard that song for the first time and I was like, that says it perfectly. You have to leave the past in the past. When you go through something like that, it does kind of become part of you. It kind of shapes you. So it's like you can't fully like leave it.
I do promise you that there will be a moment in your life, and it is a beautiful moment, Laura. It is worth living a life to get this moment there, but there will be a moment when you find someone, and when you find that person, you look in their eyes and you just are filled with so much love, and it seems like basically all the chaos is just floating around you, all the fogginess, all the darkness, everything just comes and just lines up, and it makes complete and utter sense why you had to walk through every bit of darkness to get where you are. It's cheesy and I could care less, but it happened with my wife. I'm like you, I've been through some crazy, like brutal, bad relation, like, oh man.
I understand.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah, exactly. Some like the day that we got married, it was like the perspective of a lifetime. And it was just like, oh my gosh, this is why none of that worked out.
Because it led you to your wife, like everything you went through, everything you learned, it prepared you for your wife. And then the same thing for her.
I hope so. Or that would have been really awkward.
Oh, that's beautiful, though. I believe that things happen for a reason.
I completely and utterly agree. A final question for you. 2 questions. One's deep, one's longish, and then one's really quick. But the deep and longish one. All right, I'm going to give you a scenario. Okay, give me. I'm going to need 27 seconds.
27 seconds?
That's it. That's all I'm going to need.
That's my lucky number.
What?
Yeah, it is. Are you reading my mind?
I'm actually studying psychology right now. No.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
That is good. That is really good. Okay, no, because that's just, why? You can't ask that. That's just too sad. No, it's a really sad question when I phrase it like that. Okay, but it's a good question. Okay, let me.
It's okay. I can deal with that.
You can handle. Okay, I can do it. Okay. Oh, this is painful. Okay. Laura has a baby, and it is a daughter, and she loves that daughter. But then something happens, and you are taken away from that daughter. See how it's taken a dark turn? See how it's painful? So you are taken from this daughter for a set amount of time. By some miracle, you are brought back together with your daughter for a very short, brief period of time. What do you tell your daughter?
This is an interesting question because this is something I've never thought of before. I love stuff like that, though. I love like imagining something like that for the first time. And like, it's weird too, because I feel like the answer just came to me immediately. I would just say like, I was with you the whole time, like in spirit. I know it's going to make me emotional. And I don't have a daughter. Kind of just thought, what would like my mom say, or like what would my grandma say to me? I feel like if that happened. So yeah, I'd say I loved you every second. I thought of you every second of every day.
Totally turning scientific with it. This is really interesting. I guess I shouldn't say scientific. There's this school of thought that could potentially be scientific about this certain subject. We believe that there's 3 states of matter. There's a solid, a liquid, and a gas. Well, we don't know if there's more. We don't know if there's more states. And what I mean by that is, what if the connection that you feel with people, especially, like people that you were extremely close with, children, partners, friends, and so on and so forth, that connection that you feel with them actually could be very scientific. It actually could be a certain type of matter that you connect with them. And it doesn't matter where you go. You can go across the world. You could leave this world. You could die. You could be whatever. But that connection still exists. That matter still exists, right? Call it energy, call it frequency, call it spirit, call it what have you. I truly do believe that, because you're right. If you were separated from your theoretical daughter, I don't know if you could go a day, an hour, a 15-minute interval without thinking about her or connecting with her some level.
I agree with that too. I think the realms of energy, connection, spirit, thought, dreams, like anything like that, that's one of the main things that inspires me as an artist. I'm going to say a cheesy phrase, but it's like, just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's not there. Just because our brain and our eyeballs don't process it, why does that make it not there? There's so much more, so much that we don't understand or have a way to understand or mathematically explain or whatever. We think we know a lot, but we probably know just a little, like a little bit on the spectrum of.
Lord, this is such a good concept. Oh, this is so good. Just because you can't see it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. My first example is wind. You can't see wind, but it's there. My other example is UV radiation. It's there, I promise. So obviously things are there. But a lot of these people, when they have the arguments, a lot of people, when they bring up these type of arguments saying like, oh, this can't exist because I can't see it, or so on and so forth, or it's not scientific, therefore I don't believe in it, so on and so forth. A lot of times what their argument is, do you know the possibility of something like that existing? It's very low. So I can't believe in that. And with that, every single time I want to refute and be like, let me tell you something about probability, possibility, okay? Do you know what had to happen for you to get here? Do you understand the probability of you being here right now? It is insane. If we went back 150 generations, if we looked at all of them and what had to happen for eventually you to come here, that would mean that over 250 million people had to come together, decide to have a baby, live, exist, and keep going down the spectrum for you to exist. You want to talk about something that's improbable? You, sir, you are improbable.
Right. Not just those generations, but everything else. Earth to even get here. The first bacteria. I remember watching like a TED talk or like some YouTube video or something about this. It was like 1 in 42 trillion or something, like chance that you're alive. That alone. Whew.
So don't tell me that there's not a possibility or a probability that something like a connection between two people can exist. Don't you
right.
tell me.
Or if like people who say like souls don't exist, it's like, all right, go ahead and believe that, I guess. But
now, disclaimer, I do need to say this for my own sake and so people don't blast us in the comments. There is merit to scientific experimentation,
absolutely.
to science, to whatever you want to say. But let us all remember, 50 years ago, people said that cigarettes were healthy and Wi-Fi would never exist. So, with a grain of salt, right? I'm not saying science is always wrong, but I am definitely saying science is not always right.
I mean, not too long ago, people still thought that the universe revolved around the Earth.
That is true. Laura, this has been a fantastic conversation. I have one final question, which is probably the most important question that I could ever ask someone on this show. Did you have a good time?
Yes, definitely. Honestly, this is, I think, the best interview I've ever had. It really has.
Ego boost. Is there any final words that you want to say to the listeners?
Just thank you so much, Wyatt, for making this show and for featuring artists like me and, Evoke and Austin. And I just want to say, like, keep it up. Everyone should go follow Behind the DAW.
Thank you so much, Laura. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you for having me on the show.